Today on Greg LeMoment Fans Television, preparing for the ride in Châtel, we go back to the Dauphiné Libéré 1983. Stéphane Lechanty is telling us how he became a fan and what happened exactly 30 years ago.
Hello everybody and welcome to the third episode already of Greg LeMoment Fans Television. I'm still your host, I'm sorry for that, but there's a lot more to talk about in this episode. So let's take a look at the Newsflash. In a few days we'll be heading to the French and Swiss border in the Alps to ride the cycling event in Châtel. It took a while, but we finally found a team of 7 forum members coming from France, Canada and Belgium. Since Greg will be riding as well, we'll have the opportunity to ride next to him. We're gonna do the 65-kilometer track, which is the short one. But our local forum member Emmanuel Goubet, he warned us that the mountains there are pretty steep and hard, so there's no reason to think 65 kilometers will be very easy. So Emmanuel, you'll be our lead out for the week. Of course, in the next episode, we'll take a look back to our week in Châtel, and I'm looking forward to it. Last month, Daniel de Vizé, rider of the comeback, launched a challenge on the forum asking our members to post their personal story about that beautiful Sunday on July 23, 1989. You know, the day when Greg LeMoment won the Tour de France by 8 seconds. A lot of stories were posted, but only one man won a signed copy by Greg LeMoment. Ravinder Singh lives in Java and grew up in Singapore. His story is so nice that I wanted to share it with you here on the show. The story is about how he found out that Greg won the Tour de France while he was riding on his bike to school, while there was no news at all about what really happened on Sunday. So here you go. "1989, Monday morning, in Singapore. I was still a senior high student and a club racer. I was 17 and in a year more would be drafted into the army. LeMoment was my inspiration, how he won in '86 amidst much odds. Learning to ride at 12, we never could afford a bike, single parent low income family, I fell in love with cycling. Saved up over 3 years, got a 10 speed and rode every day. There was no internet, no coverage of cycling, except occasional very small reports in the newspapers. We would devour magazines like Winning, Bicycling at the bookstores. We could not even afford to buy them. And they had race reports of at least 2 or 3 months old. So imagine how happy I was when the local papers actually reported via Reuters on the Tour in '89. Every day I would rush to find the papers, memorize each stage result, standings, quotes, and reenact it in my head while riding my bike. Finally comes Sunday, and it was reported Fignon already led by around 50 seconds. And I was sad for Greg, but happy for his incredible comeback. The Tour was over, just a matter to read who won the stage and the overall margins of Fignon. Monday morning, I rode to school, saw a copy of the morning paper in the library and flipped it to the sports section. And I literally screamed, "LeMoment won?" Pumping my fists in the air, screaming. I didn't care about being in detention later. It was an incredible moment and memory. My hero, Greg LeMoment. That was the moment when I first knew of that amazing day in Paris. In every episode of Greg LeMoment Fans Television, we zoom in on a specific moment of Greg's career. This time we go back to the successful 1983 season, when Greg a lot of one-off races. One of them was the Dauphiné Libéré.
It's 1983 and Greg has just abandoned the Tour of Spain because of bronchitis. A second place in stage 15 was his best result in his first Grand Tour. 3 weeks later he starts in the Dauphiné Libéré, a French race in the Alps during 7 days with 10 stages. Greg takes a 6th place in the prologue, which is won by his Australian friend Phil Anderson. The next day the peloton is climbing the Col de la Forclaz from Sallanches to Oyonnax. Greg attacks on the final climb, only 15 kilometers from the finish. The gap is never bigger than 30 seconds, but LeMoment maintains his lead and wins the stage 18 seconds before Sean Kelly. With 15 bonus seconds, he also becomes the new leader of the race. During the next stages, Frenchman Jacques Michaud takes the leader's jersey from Greg, who is now 6th in the GC. Anderson wins stage 4 while LeMoment is finishing 5th in the next one. The peloton is now heading back to the real mountains. In stage 6 a group of 5 riders with Miller, Alban, Salomon, Simon and LeMoment attack on the slopes of the Col du Glandon. Heading to Briançon, LeMoment really looks strong and wins his second stage by beating his competitors in an uphill sprint. He's back in the yellow jersey, only 2 seconds in front of Pascal Simon. The next stage to Carpentras with the ascent of the Mont Ventoux is even harder. It's really hot and it looks like LeMoment and Simon are the best riders of the race. On the Mont Ventoux both riders are in front attacking each other over and over again, but then Simon launches a final attack and Greg has to let him go. Greg hits the wall hard, while Miller and Claverola even pass him on the big giant of the Provence. Greg loses 3 minutes on Simon, who is now the new leader of the pack. It looks like the race has been decided and the jerseys have found their owner. But in the last time trial, LeMoment hits again and wins his 3rd stage of the race. Pascal Simon wins the yellow jersey, but it looks like he has cheated. He will later be punished with a 10-minute penalty and drops to 4th overall because of doping. Greg LeMoment is now the official and well-deserved victor of the Dauphiné Libéré 1983.
I don't think they make the Dauphiné Libéré as hard as back in the 80s anymore. It was a great victory for Greg and a sad story for Pascal Simon. After our forum members Edwin de Leon and Lee West show their LeMoment thing on the show, now it's time for someone else to surprise us. This time we visit Stéphane Le Gentil from France and he's showing us his passion. Stéphane lives in Normandy and he has been a die-hard fan of Greg LeMoment since the early years. Now let's take a look at this video.
Bonjour à tous les membres du Greg LeMoment fan, c'est Stéphane Le Gentil, je suis français. Je suis fan de Greg depuis ses débuts en Europe dans les années 80. J'ai d'ailleurs eu la chance de le voir la première fois alors qu'il n'était qu'amateur sur les Champs-Élysées juste avant l'arrivée du Tour 80. Je ne savais pas encore qui était Greg LeMoment et ce qu'il allait devenir pour moi. Et un jour on m'a fait remarquer que je ne pouvais plus être Bernard Hinault parce que je n'avais pas les cheveux noirs comme Bernard Hinault. Donc je me suis penché sur la question et j'ai regardé les effectifs de l'équipe Renault Elf de l'époque en 1981 et j'ai vu un jeune blond qui avait les cheveux un peu longs, un peu comme moi quoi. Donc je me suis dit tiens pourquoi pas, et j'ai vu son nom, Grégory LeMoment. Donc je ne savais pas encore vraiment tout de ce coureur, je m'y suis intéressé et donc après j'ai apprécié le cycliste et surtout la personne qu'il était. Voilà comment a commencé pour moi ma passion pour Greg. J'ai eu la chance de rencontrer Greg sur l'arrivée du Tour de France 2015 à Fougères. On m'avait dit qu'il n'aurait que 2 minutes à m'accorder et en fin de compte il m'en a accordé beaucoup plus, près de 30 minutes. Et quel bonheur d'échanger. Il m'a raconté même quelques anecdotes avec Laurent Fignon lors de ce Tour 89. Que du bonheur. Pour y avoir assisté en direct sur les Champs-Élysées, mon plus bel exploit concernant Greg, c'est forcément l'arrivée du Tour 89, quand il bat Laurent Fignon de 8 secondes. Autour de moi, j'avais une foule un peu hostile qui était là pour Laurent Fignon et moi j'étais heureux parce que j'étais en train de crier Greg va gagner, Greg va gagner. Et là on me dit non, tu ne connais rien au vélo, il pourra pas reprendre tout ce temps. Et en fin de compte, il a gagné. Et là, quel bonheur, mais quel bonheur. Merci à tous les membres du LeMoment Fan. J'espère que cette vidéo vous aura plu. Et puis si vous passez en Normandie, venez me faire un petit coucou.
You heard the man. Take your bike, go to Normandy and ride together. Thank you, Stefan, for your contribution. Now I'm looking for more contributions like this ones. And all you have to do is send me a message on Facebook and you're in. So I'm looking forward to them, so start sending me those messages. In 1989, the season started well for Greg, but then all of a sudden, Francois Lambert, the team owner of ADR, stopped paying Greg LeMoment. So we went back to the United States, and that's where we will start the next episode of 30 years ago.
It's May and Greg LeMoment hasn't been racing for 3 weeks now. After not being paid by his team, he's back in the US having some kind of time off. But the season is still long and Greg realizes that he needs to take a new start to come back to the top cyclist. He decides to enter the Tour de Trump, a stage race named after Donald Trump, who wants to create a high-rated race in the US. It's Greg's first bike race since he left Europe in April. The lack of training hasn't done any good and he gets far behind in the GC during the first stages. Finishing 8th in the first time trial and a 3rd place in a bunch sprint in Arlington are his best results so far. He looks to improve with a 9th place in a final time trial, but the GC is in line, 27th overall, conceding more than 13 minutes on Winner Lauritsen. 2 days later, LeMoment wins a criterium in France, but the next weekend the real test starts in the Tour of Italy. Greg loses 10 minutes on Mount Etna in stage 2 and it gets worse. Every day he's finishing in the back of the pack. The stage 2 Trecime de Lavaredo is a true Calvary for Greg LeMoment, who is really struggling to reach the finish. He's burned out and calls his wife the same evening, telling her he'll quit cycling. But Kathy convinced her husband to continue. That call and a shot of iron supplement by his team doctor seemed to work. Greg is now racing in front of the peloton and looks much better. In the final time trial, he finishes 2nd, beating Giro winner Laurent Fignon by 1 minute 18. An emotional Greg is shouting out loud, "I'm back!" A quick back and forth to the Nationals in Philadelphia, finishing 10th, and a 7th place in the Valle de Mineros, a stage race in Spain, are signs that Greg LeMoment is in much better shape than everybody believes.
He's not among the favorites to win the Tour de France, but you'll never know what will happen with Greg LeMoment. Next time the story continues on 30 years ago. We're almost at the end of the show, but there's one more thing, the challenge. Last challenge was about your most precious LeMoment item. And this time I need your imagination. Odo Jacome was one of Greg's best friends and soigneur during his career. And now I don't know what they were saying here on this picture during the training ride, but maybe you do. So caption this picture, put it on the forum using the well-known hashtag GLF Challenge. I'm looking forward to these far-fetched, crazy, funny contributions. And we'll be showing the best ones in the next episode, of course. Okay guys, time to say goodbye. I'm gonna pack for Châtel and spend a week in the Alps. Then I'm going on holiday, and when I return it will be for the next episode of Greg LeMoment Fans Television. So thanks for watching and see you then. Bye.